than the traditional approach that we took. All right, because of the timeline, you know, the urgency to get something into the market, right? So given a short line, right, so we decide to come up with, we decide to, you know, get the design of the scanner perfect first, get the hardware perfect, and we can do the software in the, you know, later timeline. All right, so I emphasize this, right? It will be supported, right? There will be support for KCP by the end of this year for sure, right? This is the emphasis. But at this moment, all right, at this moment there is no support. You can only use the twin drivers, or, you know, the ISIS drivers, or the Kodak Smart Touch at this moment, huh? Okay, so what about people that actually buys the scanner? Say, hey, how? No KCP LE, right? You can say, okay, in the future when it is released, you definitely can download, right? That is for sure. Okay. Okay, so Smart Touch can automate some of the common document scanning tasks, right? Okay, the ones that your Evernote, your box, your cloud, your SharePoint, everything, right? Because, okay, so basically this is the entry level, right? The entry level of these scanners, right? So using Smart Touch, which is used for very light scanning requirements, right? You can actually get those common tasks to be sent out, right? And you know, digitized completely. Okay, environment sustainability, basically talking about how from the start of the design of the product all the way until we depose the equipment. That means the end user actually, you know, next time, you know, after donkey years, they dispose the machine, right? How it can be done, all this kind of thing, right? So for all our for most of our scanners, right, we are aiming for EPGO, right? EPGO, right? For any of the new scanners that we're going to launch, right, we're aiming for EPGO for sure. All right, our packaging, you know, is 90%. What does this this EPGO says, right? It's about being so-called environmentally, right, friendly to, you know, to Mother's Nature, right? So we say that our packaging is over 90% recyclable, or, you know, products contain at least 5%, you know, post-consumer recycled content. You know, your light source are completely mercury-free. Right, today we no longer use what we call last time the those mercury lamps, you know, that's used in the older model scanners. And today we are all using LEDs illuminations, right? And how we can, you know, recycle these things at the end of the so-called the life cycle of this product. All these are actually compliance, right, according to the EPGO standards. Right, competitor-wise, some of them have gold, most of them have silver. A lot of them on bronze or even nothing, right? Okay. So what is the competition overview, competitive overview, right? So if you're looking at an E1030, right, your typical competition will be your Fujitsu, you know, FI730, your Canon C230, Epson, you know, this range that's operating around 30 page, 35 page so-called ranges, right? And your E1040 that's moving along with your FI740, you know, C240s, or even Epson DS770s, right? Too. Okay. So what you see in the list price is just the MSRP, okay. So there's some technical reference, This one I get a lot of questions from everyone, Okay, so let me just go through it one shot, one time, All right. Okay, so what are the slight changes, right, in the E1040 or the E1030, this class of machines, right? Okay, so just now in the beginning we said that it has feeding mechanism that's similar to the S2040, correct? So that's why I emphasize again, it's similar, but not the same. All right, what do I mean by that? Let's take a look. All right, on the feeder, right, what you see, all right, is that they have what we call the gates, right? The so-called the gates. Okay, these gates, these feeding gates, right, it raises when you close the thing. You'll hear like that, some kind of sound, right? It's the gates that's, you know, pushing up. Okay, why it push up, right? It is to prevent user from pushing down the paper to the UDDS and covering the UDDS sensor. All right, this little black little thing here is the UDDS sensor. All right, so if you push the paper down, you will get an error in the scanner. They'll say, hey, there is multi-feed in the scanner. All right, because there's paper covering. So this is the purpose of it. However, right, as difference with the S2050, which have the active feed technologies, although we have the gates here, the mechanic, this is operate through mechanically. Okay, you do not have the active feed technology, right? So this is different. Again, this is there's a differentiation. This is a differentiator between the E103040 versus the S2050. There's difference. Okay, don't have what we call the enhanced separation. No such thing. Okay, you just have the feeding gates, right? Which is similar with the S2040. Stopping the so-called paper from being pushed out forward, right? Okay, so the sensor, right, the UDDS sensor, another thing that a lot of people ask me, hey, how come the sensor look a bit different? Okay, so the sensor, right, there's two pieces, right? One for transmit, one for receive. All right. So you'll notice that for the one of the sensors, right, okay, which is okay at the bottom, or the so-called the rear, the front of the so-called scanner, right? Okay, it looks a bit different, right? It looks just different, but we adopt this UDDS sensor, right? Because this is one of the more commonly available parts, right? To the customer, there's no different. It still behaves like a UDDS sensor. That's all. There's no so-called superior advantage over the previous design or whatever. All right, just choose to use a component, right? That is more commonly available. Maintaining this sensor, right, is still similar. You just use a little blower and just blow air and clean off any dust that's residing around the area. Still the same. Okay, all right. Okay, second, so when you run the drivers, right? Okay, so I have a lot of drivers in my laptop, right? So you look at this, right? You have the E1030. You also have the Kodak. You also have the Kodak E1000. Wow, very confusing. Which is which? So very simple. Very simple to choose. If you're connected to the E103040, you should choose this one, E1030. Okay, but if you are connecting as the previous E1025, then you should select the E1000. All right, they are different drivers. I repeat again, they are different drivers, so don't expect them to be so-called cross-compatible. All right, okay. So you might have also noticed that the calibration UDDS is not available at this moment in the drivers of the E1X, the new E1000 series. Okay, it will be available in a later version of the drivers, right? And reason being is that they don't expect us to calibrate the scanner so oftenly. All right, they are saying that by right, you should never need to calibrate it so oftenly at all, right? Okay, so this is the product specification, a short products. The in detail will be in the Kodak website for sure, right? Citrix ready. You have your Linux drivers and the Windows driver. Supported compatibility. Really, you have to read with so-called with. You have to see about the compatibility. I don't believe anyone will buy a server 2019 and connect to the E1000. Okay, I don't think they will waste such a operating system with it. All right. Okay. So take a look at the compatibility, right? List for it. We will be improving this list as we move on. All right. Okay, lastly, one of the last few slides, right, is the consumable and accessories. This is also another hot topic that I receive many questions. So, what are the consumables for the scanners, right? It's always refer to your consumable guide for the Kodak scanners, right? That should be the single source that you refer to, because I cannot remember everything. All right, I cannot remember everything, but there are few things, few easy way to remember. Okay, so the new E1000s, right? They use what we call we have renamed this. The catalog number is still the same. 1025147. Okay, but we rename this to S2040 E1030 E1040 feeder roller kit. Okay, these will be the consumable rollers that will come with the E1000s. All right, look carefully and don't order the same thing for the E1035. Please. Okay, look carefully. Picture already provided to you. Okay, so refer to the list. Right, you can also have the dangler. All right, or the stacking feed. All right, the thiệu stacking feed. All right, that is in our is in our S2000 series. All right, so the E series is particularly the pricing range is lesser, also because of the absence of these two accessories. All right, these two accessories are good, right? If let's say you find that sometimes you scan a lot of odd sizes paper, all right, or you scan longer documents where using the tube feed, right, it actually improves the output stacking for the scanner. All right. So of course, if let's say you have a S2000, right, I see a lot of people, they also plug in and just adjust this and they get a much better so-called stacking output, right, when they use it with the accessories. You have the passport flatbed and the integrated A4 legal size flatbed. This is used by the S2000s, the E1000s. Right? Okay, unique to this series one, E and S2000. All right. Okay, this is the perfect page reference. If you're really into perfect page, right, this is the feature of reference that's inside, right? What is in the box, right? You got your scanner, you got an input tray, you got a power adapter, USB 3.2 cable, right? Installation CDs. I don't remember seeing any installation CDs. By right, we should have removed this already, right? Some of your miscellaneous flyers and how to install the this catalog shows how to install the drivers or whatever. So when plugging to the so-called the flatbeds, right, it's still using the daisy chain method, and so you still need only just one power source and one USB connectivity to the hosting PC, right? You don't need two power and two USB connection to the PC, all right? It's just using the daisy chain method, similarly to what you see in the S2000. All right, how you connect is the same. There's a guide in the website that's in the supporter page. All right, there's a brochure that actually shows you how to connect it by picture. That one is by visual picture, right? So if you have any problem connecting, please refer to the support page, where we have all these brochures. I believe there's one brochure inside that's also show you the same thing, right? If you don't see it, please go and download from the support website of the scanner. Reference sites, I leave these reference sites right in the your product flyer, your Alaris click, AlarisOneWorld.com, all these things are actually all inside, right? There will be more and more reference material as we move on by, right? All right. Okay, I have come to the end of my presentation. Let me pass the slot to Mark now. All right.
All right.
Let me just stop my. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ting-Teng. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open the floor up to questions. So if you have any questions, please type into the chat box or the question box. Okay, so far I have a few questions here, so let me read it out. So, Ting-Teng, can E1040 scan paper as thin as tissue? Sometimes paper is wet by rain, so it's asked by Michael.
Okay, so, I believe no scanner can scan in a tissue. Okay, there is a specification for the scanner, right? Up to a certain thickness. Okay, I remember the thickness is about frankly, I cannot remember what's the thickness. Okay, but we do specify what is the thickness of it. So anything that go below, right, I think normally any of the so-called, no other scanner can do the tissue thingy. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen any of the scanners so fragile that can scan tissue. Okay, if it's wet, exercise common sense, that means you really have to dry up first. All right, you don't risk your paper, right, that's wet, right, and get it teared by the scanner, right? Okay, so when the parts are moving, the rollers are moving, right, there are certain forces that might tear your paper if let's say it's wet. So better exercise common sense, right? Wait for the paper to dry up, or what I see in the archives is that they use an iron, right, to go and iron the paper and then scan it through the scanners. All right?
All right. Thank
Can I
you.
have the next question?
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
Why is Mac OS not supported by Richard?
Okay, Mac OS. Okay. So frankly, actually, I'm not supposed to answer this question, because I'm not in the product team. Okay, so but from what we saw in the market so far, right, there are little demand for actually Mac drivers. All right, so that's why the product team, they just come to the conclusion that most people that use scanners, right, they are either using Windows OS, right, or there are just this little so-called groups of people that's using Mac. All right, so we decide that we do not develop the Mac drivers for all our scanners. All right.
All right, thank you, Jing Teng. So I have the next question. Okay, I think this is about price. Basically, how much is a feed roller kit per box?
I will have our sales manager to talk to you, right, regarding how much is the feed roller kit. Yeah, how much for it, right?
Thank you. So we have your details, so we'll get our salespeople to contact you directly.
All right.
Okay, next question. Okay, we got quite a few questions, which is good. Next question. Besides the speed, do the specs of the E1030, E1040 similar with E1035?
Yes, quite similar, right? We have give you through the presentation, we have point out what are the difference between the E1035, right? So if we really go technically, all right, the design of it, the chips that's used inside it is actually different. It's actually different from the E1035. That is why the drivers, right, you really, you got to refer to the correct drivers when you're connecting the scanners, right?
Thank you, Pranoto. Next question by Ivy. It was mentioned that Capture Pro will be available by end of this year for E1030 and 1040. Is it the same with Capture Limited?
Yes, I would presume so. Yes, that will be our ultimate plan to do so.
Thank you. Next question by Jong. So this model 1030, 1040, the accessories for flatbed only support A4 and not A3?
Yes, it does not support the A3 flatbed. Again, if you need an A3 flatbed, okay, for the A4 models, you can only use the 2050 and above. Okay, the E series will not be able to connect to any A3 flatbed, right?
Thank you very much. Okay, next question by Justin. Has the lighting imbalance issue been resolved in these new products?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Yeah.
Okay.
These are all the questions we have, but let's just hang in there for any new questions that anyone might have.
Oh, I can see the questions also.
Yeah, you can type into the question box or type it into the chat box. We'll be here for a few more minutes. Great, we have one more question. Is CSI module similar to S2000?
I believe so. They are similar. Next question.
Okay, we just hang on
See,
for
let's see whether we have any more questions.
Yep. Anyway, partners, if you have any questions after this webinar, you know who to contact, you know, Jing Teng or Samuel. Basically, just contact our Southeast Asia team and we will revert back to you. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I guess we have no more questions. So, Jing Teng, you have anything else to say before I end the webinar?
If let's say you all have any questions, still please feel free, right, to actually look for us, right. Always I seek everybody's cooperation, right. Please download the latest consumable guides, which will reflect the correct consumable parts for the E1030 and E1040, right. Okay, so if you don't see that, right, that means your consumable guide is outdated. So please go to the website and download them, all right? Okay. If not, I have no more questions.
Thank you, Jing Teng. So everyone, thank you for your attention. And before we end this, just like to let you know that we will conduct a lucky draw if you fill in our post-event survey. So we want to know how we are doing, whether we did well, and basically give us any comments, even if you felt there's any improvements needed. So we will pick a lucky winner to win a prize. And yeah, thank you very much for your time and talk to you soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Goodbye.
Yeah.